What is up, guys? JM here. Today we're talking about reverb, a common subject all over the audio world, how it affects your sound, and how to properly use it. Reverb is an essential tool whether you're mixing or recording music, or you just want to get a bit of life into your recordings. But at the same time, if not used properly, it could really be destructive to your song or mixes. I'll show you a way that I found very helpful and very effective in how I use reverb on my mixes and all the instruments that I use. It doesn't matter whether you're using vocals or instruments. The same rule applies here, and hopefully you can get something out of it. Hopefully it gets your mixes better or gets your recording to a better place and makes you enjoy the whole process. If you like what I'm doing, guys, I would really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe and share these videos to help support the channel and help me get more videos out going for you guys. Let's get to it. All right, let's see what we've got here. So a lot of the ways that I notice people do stuff is that they would just, put in a reverb on the same channel strip of whatever you're recording. However, the best way to do this that I found is to actually create a track that has that reverb, what we call in Cubase a send track or an effects track, and send my channels or my whatever I'm doing, vocals, instruments, to that reverb. The reason you want to do that is, one, you'd always want to use almost the same reverb, like one or two reverbs. I wouldn't suggest you using more than that in your mixes, because at the end of the day, you want your mix or your band or your music, whatever it is, to feel that it was made in one space. So first recommendation is use one or two reverbs, not more than that, and send your instruments to that reverb. Another one of the positives of doing that is when you send all your tracks to that one reverb track, you have less instances of that reverb loaded into your tracks, which means less strain on your computer, right? So let's take this for example. Let me show you what's happening here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that 8? Yeah, that's 8. 8 tracks of vocals here, right? And I want to use the same reverb on all these vocals. Instead of loading on the channel strip in my inserts 8 instances of reverbs, and that will drown my CPU and my computing power, I would create one bus, which is right here, and have all these tracks sent into that reverb. I'll show you how you do that. So in Cubase, all you have to do is go into right click, FX, add track. You decide on whatever reverb you want, name it whatever you want, and add it. Once you have it added, like here for instance, I called it Vox Reverb, and I'm using, what reverb am I using? I'm using the Roomworks that comes with Cubase. I go to my individual tracks, and in my sends, I send it to that reverb. So you can do this as well with any vocals, any instrument. It's the same concept. And that way, all 8 of my tracks are sent to my reverb. Now, how do we work with it? So once I've have my reverb loaded into my track, let me get this here. You'll do the setup, whatever you want in terms of the reverb, like the reverb time, how big your room is. It depends on what reverb you're using, obviously. Different reverbs have different parameters. You might find some common parameters here. You might find some parameters that are not in other reverbs, but you get the gist of it. So once you decide on your settings and what you want, the width, the size, if you want pre-delay or not, all that stuff, you start sending your main tracks into that. So first of all, a very important thing to note is your mix should always be at 100%. We don't want any of the dry vocals to get into that, right? So the mix is at 100%, and that's all we would get out of the reverb, nothing from the dry signal. Once we have that set, I'll show you what to do. So we go into the sends, right? And we send that. Now it's off, now it's on. We send that to the Vox reverb. So what happens now, every time, this vocal is playing, it is sent to the Vox reverb. And it sounds something like that. Let's see what we have.
Bring down all these walls for me, just for the house we'll never see.
Right? So if I mute that, that's the dry signal.
Bring down all these walls for me, just for the house we'll
On.
never see. The past will always.
I do the same thing with delay. Obviously, I'm not showcasing delay here, but so this is what happens. We're sending that to the Vox reverb, and the level of send that you're sending to the Vox reverb channel is defined here as well. So let's play around with it and see, and that allows you to add as much as you want as like a parallel mix to it. Let's see. So this is dry, and I go in.
You're better off. You're better off.
Right? And that's how you could use it. Another thing to note as well, when you're using a lot of reverbs, it's very important to EQ your reverbs, which means in that case, that reverb has an EQ. I have a low pass filter and a high pass filter, and that prevents the sub frequencies to go into the reverb and stack, especially when you're using a lot of tracks, and stack up against each other and create a lot of mud in your mix. If you don't have that, if your reverb does not have the EQ settings on, what you can do is you can add an EQ after the reverb and do that yourself. So let's say we want to, let's do that. So do whatever, like high pass, low pass, work it the way you want. So yeah, there's no limits to what you can do when it comes to that. So again, quick recap. Fix your sizes, fix the reverb type that you want. Make sure that you use 1 or 2 reverbs in general in song. Send all your instruments to that reverb rather than putting in instances of that reverb on every separate channel. Let me know if this works for you, or how you actually use reverbs. Obviously, a lot of people use these stuff in a completely different way, right? So there's no right and wrong. I found this to be the most beneficial way to me, and I hope it helps you out with whatever you're doing. That's it for today's video. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy it, and you could take away something from it. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and obviously you'll be helping support me and the channel, and I'll see you next time.